Conic Sections Student Notes Day 1. As with all of these notes, please make sure that you have your foldable completed prior to taking these notes. It makes it a lot more simple to understand and see exactly where I'm coming from. The center of this is 0, 0, and it has a radius of 3. Again, the center is 0, 0. Remember, that's h and k, which would be the numbers attached to x and y. There aren't any. This is going to be the radius, which is the square root of 24, which reduces to 2 square roots of 6. Remember, your radius is always squared in this form, so you've got to square root it. All right, now we're moving away from the center. Remember, your minus is the actual equation, so if it is a minus, it is 6. If it's a plus, it's -5. And again, square root, and you get 9. We've got -7 and 0, and we've got a square root of 40, which reduces to 2 square roots of 10. Number 5 is writing an equation for the following circle. Centered at the origin is x squared y squared, and that's going to be 16 r squared. Centered at -5, 1, so that's x plus 5 squared plus y minus 1 squared equals, remember to read your question carefully, you got a diameter of 16, divide by 2 gives you a radius of 8. 8 squared is 64. The center here is -3, 0. The radius here is 2, so -3, 0 with a radius of 2. Right. Over here, centered at -4, 1, radius of 5, going to be radius of 5, that's there. And there we go. Okay, next questions attempt to get a little bit tricky. Really not that big of a deal. Remember, you're looking for coefficients that are 1, so it's going to be x squared plus y squared equals 100. Therefore, you're centered at the origin, and your radius is 10. There we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and your circle goes here. Okay. Again, trying to be tricky, really not that tricky. So we get x squared plus y squared equals 16. Therefore, you're at the origin still, and your radius is 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and your circle belongs there. Pretty straightforward. Simple circles are the simplest of all of your conic sections, and they incorporate a very simple formula. That's the distance formula, and that's going to be, for those of you who don't have it memorized, a derivative of the Pythagorean theorem, x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared. You're going to take the square root of that entire quantity. Also, another strategy to find your center point is going to be the midpoint formula, which is simply the average of your x values and the average of your y values, written as an ordered pair. So finding the distance and the midpoint between the following points, this is setting up the next portion where you're given only points on a circle, and you are expected to write an equation from that. Okay, distance formula will give you the square root of 26, and the midpoint will be 7 halves, 5 halves. Again, please do the work through here, confirm that I've done it correctly, because you know me, I make those mistakes. And additionally, you'll need to know how I got these numbers. Again, the distance here is 4 between these points, and the midpoint is going to be 1, 0. All right, 13, 14, and 15 are what we're leading up to. All right, so the endpoints of the diameter are that. The way I like to do this is by drawing a picture, okay? And so I'm going to go down here to up here to 2, 6, and put a point, and likewise do the same over here. Now, I prefer pictures because the pictures really help determine what your conic section is going to be. Since this is a diameter, I draw my line there. That means that my center is somewhere on this line right here, okay? Technically, it's halfway between these two, so that's why we're going to use the midpoint formula to determine that, okay? So what I'll do here is I will count the distance from here to here and divide it by 2. So that's going to be average of the x's, 2 minus 2 divided by 2, average of the y's, 6 minus 6 divided by 2. Written as an ordered pair gives me the origin, 0, 0. Okay? Now you can see that my drawing is definitely off, but it's still something that you want to sketch so you can kind of get a picture of what you're looking at here. If this is my center, then what I'm going to do here is I'm going to determine my radius by using Pythagorean theorem. So I'm down here at -6. That means I go up 6 over 2 to get to my center. That means I can use Pythagorean theorem to find my center point. That's a squared plus b squared equals c squared. And I'm sorry, I'm not looking for the center point, I'm looking for the length of the radius. So that's going to be 4, that's 2 squared, plus 36, that's 6 squared. So that gives me 40. So that means that my equation is going to be x squared plus y squared equals the square root of 40 squared, which is 40. All right, endpoints of the diameter again. So this time I'm going to go ahead and draw this 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that one's going to be -2, -1. So again, I'm looking at that as the diameter of my circle, and I'm going to figure out where my center point is by averaging these two numbers. So that's going to be 8 minus 2 divided by 2, and 5 minus 1 divided by 2. That's going to give me my center point, which in this case is going to be 3, 2. From there, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, right about here, I'm going to use Pythagorean theorem to determine what the distance is, what the length is of my radius. If you are more comfortable using the distance formula, please be my guest. They're the same use, just in a different form. The distance up is 3, the distance over is 4. That's a perfect right triangle, which is obviously 5. So now I'll write it as x minus 3 squared plus y minus 2 squared equals 25. Here, this one's a lot more simple than the others because I've been given all the information I need, so I'll simply plug it in. X plus 3 squared plus y minus 8 squared equals 3 square roots of 2 squared which is 3 squared, 9, and the square root of 2 squared, which is 18. All right, the last couple of problems on this particular worksheet. Write an equation of the circle with the following characteristics. Again, number 15 and 16 are identical to one another, so it's simply x plus 2 squared plus y minus 7 squared, and that's going to be divided by 2. Again, read carefully. 4 square roots of 2 squared is going to give me 16 times 2, which is 32. All right, again, we're looking at this particular problem, and it's a little bit different because we're looking at the center of the circle and a point on the outside of the circle, but it is still found the exact same way as before. -3 up 5. So I'm going to come here, and that is my center. If it passes through, that means that the arc on this circle is going to look something like this. Okay? So that means that what I have here is a radius. Okay? So this is my radius. The distance from there to there is going to be 5 and 3. So that's going to be a squared plus b squared equals c squared to find the radius of this circle. So that's 25 plus 9 equals 34. So with this being the center and this being radius squared, I will simply fill it in as x plus 3 squared plus y minus 5 squared equals 34.